Guys, do not be a Jimmy who gets his first paycheck and goes straight to the dealership and buys the first Corvette that he sees. All right, guys, my name is Kozak, and I have owned two C7 Corvettes, and I want to make a buyer's guide. I was going to wait to make this video, but I need to make it now while the car is completely bone stock, and I'll show you why. I feel like a lot of people make mistakes when buying these cars. I want to cover what trim you should get, what specs you should get on this car, and cover everything from ownership tips to issues you're going to experience with this car or you need to look out for before you buy it. Now, guys, I have owned two manual Corvettes. I've driven an automatic Corvette. I have driven a convertible Corvette. I have driven every version of this car in a bunch of different specs, which gives me an insight into this car like most people don't have. There's a lot of car reviewers that review these cars, but they don't live with these cars, and that's a big difference. Now, I think this is one of the best cars you could buy right now in the current market. The European market is too expensive. Every car is going and getting more expensive because people are just buying anything off the lot with any percentage. One car that has held its value and hasn't went up or down is the Corvette. Now, they are starting to go up, so I do think this is probably the best time to buy it before they continue to go up, especially with summer. You can't afford to wait and save up some more money. I would wait to get one during winter, hopefully when the prices drop a bit, but I honestly do not see the prices changing that much. I've been watching the market for a while. I've been watching the C6 market, the C7 market, and I have seen no sign of the car market dropping. In fact, it's just been increasing regardless of how much I waited. Now, I am going to cover prices and what you should be looking for. I do have some of my biases, but I am still going to try to tell you as unbiased as I can what car you should be looking for and what packages. Two cars I have owned. This one is a C7 Grand Sport in Black Rose Metallic, one of the rarest colors. In my opinion, this is the rarest color. It has the Kalahari interior with the manual, which is very sought after in these cars because only around 20% to 15% of these cars have a manual. Now, this is what makes the C7 so special. It is still an NA car unless you get the Z06 or the ZR1, and it's the last true Corvette because it is front engine along with it being a manual. Now, the C8s, they kind of went away from having a front engine, which isn't a bad thing. It makes it just a different type of vehicle. But the problem is the car feels completely different than a C7. In my opinion, this is one of the best looking Corvettes. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Which one should you buy? So I feel like primarily you're going to be looking at a budget thing. There is the base Stingray, there's the Stingray Z51, there's the Grand Sport, and then there is a Z06, and the Grand Sport and the Z06 can have a Z07 package, which is what the Stingray Z51 is basically the equivalent to. It's a more track-focused version. And then the ZR1 has the ZTK, but we will not be talking about the ZR1 in this video. Even though it is the top dog of the Corvette lineup, in my opinion, it is a collector vehicle. It is not a vehicle people are going to look to buy to just drive around. And if you are, honestly, big ups to you. That's really cool, but we're not covering it because there's really no reason to buy a ZR1 unless you're a collector. So if you're looking to collect a car, the ZR1 is the way to go. Otherwise, we're going to be focusing on the other three trim levels. The Stingray comes with the same engine as the Grand Sport and as the Z51 and the Z07. The only difference between the engines, if you have this dipstick, this means you have the dry sump oil, which means you have a Z51 or obviously you have a Grand Sport. Now, another thing to look in the engine bay is if you have MagneRide. This is what's going to be able to make your modes change how your car feels. I feel like this is a pretty nice feature to have, but obviously it's up to you and we'll get into that. In my opinion, the C7 Stingray is one of the best value vehicles and it looks really good. You get 460 horsepower, the same thing that you get with the Grand Sport. You still have options with auto, manual. It goes from 2014 to 2019. Now, people say that the torque converter has issues in those years, however, in the earlier years, but I wouldn't listen to that too much. Now, a 2014 auto is better, in my opinion, and from my research, than a 2015 auto. I think if you're going to go automatic, I would look more for the later years. It attacks a lot of the issues. But if you're going manual, you can get any year and you should be fine with the Corvette because Chevy makes good manuals. Their autos are questionable except their 10-speed that was developed with Ford. I think you should get a Stingray if you don't have obviously the budget to get the higher trims. Honestly, if you're going to be financing any of these cars, I would finance the Stingray. I would not put yourself in a burden for one of these cars unless you know that you could afford it with your monthly paychecks. It's really up to you. I'm not a financial guru. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. However, I do think the Stingray is honestly one of the best bangs for your buck, and they're probably going to be around 30 to 40. They could range anywhere from 30 to 50,000. Now that's a big range. This is where I'm going to tell you, you cannot compare Corvettes to Corvettes. The prices on these are really different between every one that you will look at. If it has manual, it could be a giant difference in price. If it has 2LT, 3LT, which I'm going to get into which packages you should be looking for. Without going too much in a tangent here about the prices and why they scale so much, everything from the color to the interior trim to the what packet, like if it's manual or auto, just everything in these cars changes the price drastically because of what's sought after. Now, there's also a lot of owners that are going to ask too much for their car, way too much. There's going to be dealers that are going to overprice them, hoping that you compare it to the more expensive specs. Like if there's 4 manuals in your area and a dealer gets an auto, he's going to price match it to the manuals, and it's not worth anywhere near that. So I encourage you to really do your research in your area to see if you're getting a good deal. Now, if you have something you're already going to look at, you could tell me in the comments what you're going to look at, and I could tell you if it's going to be a good deal or not. I spent a crazy amount of time looking at these cars. Now, I'm going to cover this right now. Should you get the Z51? Now, if you're going to be tracking your C7 Stingray, then yes, definitely get the Z51. If you love canyon runs or back roads, get the Z51. Otherwise, there's no reason to get it unless you want to say you don't have the base model and you have a Z51. That is definitely an option that you can do, but in my opinion, Z51 is not that much more expensive from when I was doing my research, depending on who you find it from. So it's really up to you if you want it or not. It just comes with dry sump oil, so your oil changes are going to be a little different. Your car's going to have more oil, which is going to make them a bit more expensive, but otherwise you practically have the same vehicle. Now, I'm not going to dive into every nook and cranny of Z51, but it does make these vents functional right here, which helps with cooling, which is something that the normal Stingray does not do. The Z51, in my opinion, it was definitely a must-have for me when I was purchasing my Stingray, but I wouldn't say it's a must-have for everyone. The car's still going to look the same. The car's still going to handle the same for the most part, so unless you're really pushing it or enjoying it on back roads, I think it's not a must-have, but it's a very nice feature to have. Now, jumping into what I have a C7 Grand Sport. Now, I think this is one of the ones that I would not recommend for everyone to get, even though I have it. I feel like this is a very specific niche that you are fulfilling. Now, if you're going to be tracking the vehicle, I think this is actually one of the best ones to buy. Is it faster than a Z06 around the track? No, but it's also not as expensive to maintain. It is already track ready as soon as you buy it. You don't need to do anything. Honestly, this is the best car to buy if you're going to be doing canyon runs or track runs. It also looks better than a Stingray because it has the wide body. I'm sorry my narrow boys, but I got to do it to you guys. The wider fenders in the front, the wider fenders in the rear, it just completely transformed the look of the car. And now that I've owned both, I could tell you the Grand Sport definitely feels different, especially when you're going around corners. Now, in straight lines, it's a heavier car. If you're going to go in a straight line, do highway races and stuff, unless you really care about the look, there's no reason for you to get a Grand Sport. If you're planning to just get something cheap and you want to race your friends on the freeway, not that I encourage that, I would not recommend this car if you're going to be doing that, because you're just adding more weight with the wide body, the wider tires. Like, it's more expensive to maintain of a vehicle. There's no reason to get that for you. So in that case, I just recommend back to the Stingray. But if you do like corner carving, get a Grand Sport in a manual and thank me later, because this is probably one of the best ones that you could buy for your money if it fits your niche. Because if you want to go fast, it's either you buy the Stingray, because then you save a bunch of money, or you buy a Z06. So hopping into the Z06, straight line demon, you could still track it. It has overheating issues. In 2017 and up, that is taken care of, but it's still going to heat soak. Now, even when you're heat soaked, you're still going to outrun a Grand Sport, but it is going to be a bit more annoying to deal with. The car is absolutely a demon on the road. Like, I don't know, there's nothing that you could do nothing that I could say to help you experience a Z06 because they feel insane. Now, for me, I live in a rainy state. I love corner carving. There's no need for me to get a Z06. It's a waste of money. Now, the Z06 is the halo car, is the car that everyone's going to freak out about. Now, I've owned both cars. I can tell you the wide body has a lot more road presence. You're going to get a lot more compliments. But with the Z06, especially from car guys, people are going to freak out about your car. I actually haven't mentioned the price of Grand Sports, so let me dive into that before I dive into Z06 pricing. But Grand Sports can be from anywhere from 45 grand. That's the cheapest I've seen them at. Now, by the way, the lowest of the spectrum is super high mileage, probably a white car or a black car with like little to no options, probably an accident and high mileage, versus the top being like a one of one color, you know, something crazy rare. And yeah, so Grand Sports go from 45 grand to around 60. I've seen them go in 70s. I've seen them go in the 80s. But if you're buying a Grand Sport for that money, I'm sorry, you should have just gotten a Z06, if I'm being honest, because even if you prefer this car, if you're spending that much on a spec, like, I don't feel like it's worth it at all. Like, you're not getting what you're paying your money for at the end of the day. Now, Z06 pricing, they typically go from 60 grand to 100 grand. Now, manual ones especially sit at the top end, but you could definitely find one that's cheaper. Honestly, everything really depends on your budget and goal. Genuinely, if you just want to go fast in a straight line, Z06 and Stingray are the best, and that just depends on your budget. If you want to go carve the road, you can get any of the three. Depends on your budget, and depends on how you want that to feel. The thing is, with people nowadays, they usually just go for the halo trim and then try to max out the specs. They don't really do the research on these cars and see which one's going to fit their life the best, because they just want the status of a vehicle. I do not recommend doing that. I recommend doing the research, seeing which one's going to fit you best, and buying that one. I think that's the best way to buy a vehicle. Now, if you just love the look and you want the halo trim, hey, buy the halo trim. Who cares, right? Like, I mean, it's your money. Now, before I forget, the Z07 package. Should you get it on a Grand Sport and a Z06? Honestly, it's only if you're going to be tracking the car primarily that I would get this. It's even then, a lot of people don't opt into it. Like, you have to be competitive at the track, I feel like, in order for it to be worth it. Yes, it's more rare, it's more desirable, it's cooler, but unless you're going to be tracking it competitively, there's almost no reason for you to pay up that big of a premium, especially with the Z06s. I mean, the Grand Sport is pretty up there too. It's very expensive to replace those rotors and those brakes. I personally would not opt in for it unless you have a very dedicated reason aside from just, you know, status. Now, we were just talking about auto versus manual. I want to jump into this before we get into the trims. Which ones should you get? Now, manuals fetch for an exclusive, especially the Z06. The prices on the manuals on the Z06 is completely insane, and honestly, I don't know if I would want one, especially if I'm looking for one without a heating issue. As for the other ones, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be a bit more harder to find. I think it's worth it. I think GM did a great job putting a Tremec in here. If you want driving feel, if this is going to be a weekend car, you're not going to be dailying it. I daily mine, which is crazy, right? It's a Black Rose manual and I'm dailying it. But I'm telling you, you guys should get a manual if you know how to drive one. Could you learn how to drive one of these? Of course you can. I wouldn't be too worried about it, but if you feel like you're not the brightest person in the room and it would be hard for you to learn how to drive a manual, then maybe I would get a beater or something first, learn on it, sell the beater, and then get into a Corvette. At the end of the day, the autos do have more issues on the Corvette. Sorry to say it to the auto fanboys, but in my opinion, the manual is superior in every way except for daily traffic. If you live in a place with a lot of traffic, a lot of hills, yeah, you might want to lean into an auto. I understand. Get the auto. Also, if, like we talked about, you just want to go fast and beat your friends, auto is the way for you. Like, manual is for driving feel. That's why I have a manual. I told you I like canyon carving. Now, with an auto, it's not going to be as fun. However, if you're going in a straight line trying to stun on your homies, then you definitely want to get an automatic. Now, jumping straight into the options of the car, I'm going to show you guys mine. So this is a 2017. There are some changes throughout the years. The early years do not have a flat bottom steering wheel. I believe that gets changed in either 2015 or 2016. Now, this is a 2LT. It is the Kalahari interior. It does not wrap around the top like some will. All the roofs, if you didn't know, on C7s are Targa top. You could take them off on any spec. Now, the main differences that you will see, the 2LT and 3LT come with heated and cooled seats, which is something that the other Corvette doesn't. All the Corvettes have screens that open and close. For a daily, the room in here is pretty nice. It's not as bad as some Japanese cars or European cars, but it is probably one of the tighter Corvettes that you could buy. If you're looking for something that has more room, I would recommend going into a C6. Definitely sit in one of these before you buy it. Another thing I want to talk about, convertible or hardtop or coupe. Now, unless you just love convertibles, which is to my older gentlemen, I know you guys got that love for them. You can get it. They're cheaper, but make sure you get it cheaper because those things are not very desirable, especially with the new generation getting into these cars. The hard tops are more desirable because the hard tops still come off. They come off very easily. You get more trunk space. There's almost zero reason to get a convertible except that you like it and you want it to automatically put itself away. But these things weigh nothing. It's super simple to get this roof on and off. I would just honestly get a coupe version. They look so much better. There's no reason to get a convertible, in my opinion. But I know some of you convertible lovers love it. So, I mean, if you love convertibles, get a convertible. But just know the coupe is more desired. It's going to go for more money. Make sure you get a coupe, guys. The roof comes off on every spec. There is no reason in the C7 not to get a hardtop. Some other options you will see in cars is that this dash can be carbon. Apple CarPlay comes in 2LT and 3LT. If that's something important to you, make sure you get a 2LT or a 3LT. The only reason you should be getting a 1LT, in my opinion, instead of going over every little spec and thing to let you decide on your own, I'm going to be honest, 1LT, the least of the least, and it's what you should be getting if your plan is to drag race the car, to strip the car. You just want a fast Corvette and you don't care about comforts. If you're going to be daily driving this car, your goal is to get a 2LT. It gets all the comforts. It gets all the sweet bells and whistles, but it does not get the issues of the 3LT. The 3LT, you should only be getting this if you're a collector. There's no reason to be getting a 3LT. Your dash is going to bubble around here and here because that is Nappa leather up here, and Nappa leather cannot stick to plastic. So even if you get it reupholstered, you're never going to be able to not deal with the bubbling issue. So you will see a lot of 3LT owners put carpets on their dash, which is just not something you should pay up to deal with. It's more expensive and might be more rare, but I would not go with 3LT. There's quite literally zero reason to be in a 3LT. If you're going to be dailying it, you're just going to run into more issues. It doesn't really give that much more. The roof looks a little bit nicer, but honestly, the main thing people like is the glass roofs anyway. So if your car has that option, that's really cool. Congrats. And that's the basic rundown. Get whatever color you want. I believe Kalahari and white are the most rare. Red and black are the most common. There's another type of brown that is only available on the first 1,000 cars on the first year, which only came in Lime Rock Green and Laguna Blue. They have a little plaque. 2LT comes with Apple CarPlay, which is something I also want to talk about. As you can see, I have this thing. It is called AA Wireless 2 Plus. This thing is probably the best thing to get for your CarPlay if you want wireless CarPlay in a car like this, because it is only in wired CarPlay, which is really annoying to route it in this car, in my opinion. It routes through here, but it's just uncomfortable because there's nowhere to really put your phone in this car. So my opinion is get wireless CarPlay with that adapter. If you have a different adapter, it's probably not going to work that well. I'm going to be honest. Do not get some random Chinese one so you could watch YouTube on your screen. That is the best one. It has not failed me one time. I have not needed to replug it. I've used CarLink Kit, and that one has gave me so many issues. There's also competition seats. I've never sat in those, so I could not give you my full opinion. I'd look it up. There's also PDR, which is your performance data recorder. I do not have this in this car. It's something that's cool to have, but not needed. Only if you're going to a track would you want an option like that. And then again, you can always just get a dash cam to record for you and do it for you. There's no reason to have your car do it for you. I don't know. It's just not something that I really care about, but it is a sought-after option if you want it. There's also a carbon trim if you want that. There is a bunch of different like special editions. You are going to be paying up basically for the same car, but again, those things are kind of lean towards collectors, but if you get an amazing deal on one, there's no reason not to grab one. Like if every car in your area is $55,000 and you find a Heritage Edition, Grand Sport for $57,000. There's no reason not to jump in that if it's in the same price range. The next section of the video, I want to talk about the issues you're going to deal with. Like I said, the autos have the torque converter issues. You're going to run into that. This car does not have a lot of problems. Now, the heat soak issues of the C7, you're going to need a bigger supercharger lid, and there's a bunch of other things you could do with the Z06. You're going to have to do your own research there, but they're going to overheat. But make sure you don't hear any noises coming from down below, because that might be your torque converter. The fuel injectors are insanely loud on this car. Do not get worried thinking your car is knocking or ticking. It's probably not. It's probably the fuel injectors. But if it sounds really, really sharp, like metallic light, now I really want you to give the car's engine a grace that it's going to be loud in the engine bay. But if you hear a different noise, you might want to have that investigated. Otherwise, these cars have not a lot of issues. Another thing you're going to deal with is 335 tires in the rear of the Grand Sport and Z06. Super expensive to maintain. That's something to keep in mind. It's 335s in the rear. That's going to be very, very annoying to, pay for those to brand new. Another issue we're going to deal with is wheel cracks in the C7 Grand Sport and the Z06. There's a popular YouTuber named Social Orbit that crashed his Corvette because of this issue. Definitely try to get your wheels changed and save up to get those wheels changed, because it is dangerous if you do not change them, especially before track day on the C7 with the wide bodies. The Stingray, you guys are safe. You guys are completely safe. So, yeah, you guys get to just enjoy your car. This car is going to scrape. It's a pretty low car. As expected, you're going to scrape. So, hopefully you know how to drive a car that's lower. Honestly, a lot of people lower the car, and I don't know how, because it is a pain to deal with driving as is with a lowered car. I never enjoyed it. I'm planning to eventually lower it, but probably put it on air cups, not air suspension. I don't like how bags look, but just air cups to lift the front, kind of how the C8 has it. Another thing to deal with is your roof might leak right here, so definitely watch out and check here if there is any leaking. That's something to look for. And this is an issue. I've sat in a Corvette with this issue. The roof creaks. It sounds terrible. The roof creaks. The car's noisy already. You do not want one with a creaky roof. Now, the car does not have a lot of room, like I said. It's pretty good, but especially for what it is, but it is not the best. If you get a convertible, you have a wall right behind you, so it makes it so you can't even back up more. And I don't know if scientifically there is a difference, but it feels like there is. That thing has made me feel claustrophobic. Driving a convertible one of these was one of the worst things I felt. If you love convertibles, good for you, but I don't know. I can't do it. I can't do it with this car. Guys, gas is really high right now. If you're actually going to buy one of these cars, make sure you're paying attention to gas prices. If you could afford that, if you could afford insurance. A lot of people don't pay attention to stuff like this. They get on a monthly payment and then they can't go out because they can't afford the tires, the alignment, the maintenance, the oil changes, just all the stuff that you have to do with these cars. These are sport cars that are expensive to own. To conclude, if I had an unlimited budget and I was dailying, I'd still get a Grand Sport. If I had an unlimited budget and I wasn't dailying, I'd probably go with the Z06. If I did have a budget, I would probably go with a Stingray, because I also like modifying my cars. So, you got to get some money in for those mods. Now, if you're planning on getting a Stingray but eventually upgrading, I wouldn't modify the car. There's no reason for you to invest money into a car you're not planning on keeping, guys. So make sure if you're going to modify your car that you're planning on keeping it, because the modifications do not add value. A lot of things are also interchangeable. If you get a Stingray, just like I did, I got my exhaust off a Z06, put it on my Stingray, and now it's going to go on my Grand Sport. The exhaust can fit on each other. You just got to check the fitments and see if they're all the same. All the trims are amazing and they have their own place. The 1LT is, the bare minimum. You get some weight reduction basically by not having those cooled and ventilated seats. Then you have things like 3LT, where this is the most comfortable, the most luxurious option, but I would not drive that around very often. That's like, I'm going to take my car maybe once a summer to show it off and then keep it in the garage the rest of the year. 2LT, that's the best trim, the best spec in my opinion. I think those are going to be the ones that really hold their value. Not that 3LT won't, but as people learn about the bubbling issues, they're not going to want to deal with it. And as soon as your dash starts to bubble, you're going to have value go down, right? As long as people could see it. Please be smart when you buy it. But like I said, ask me questions. You could send your deals that you're working out. Another tip, guys, do not buy from a one-of-one owner. Also, if you get a 2016 and above, I forgot to mention, you do get front cameras. They're not very helpful, but they're nice to have. One final thing before we end off the video. A little start. This is what a stock LT1 sounds like. Haven't got my exhaust on yet. I probably am forgetting a bunch of things to share with you guys and information that I could tell you. But at the end of the day, I don't want to make this like a 2-hour long video. There's so much to know about these cars, and I've done so much research. It's hard to fit it all into one little video, especially keeping it concise and not going on random tangents. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're buying something, ask questions. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button if you're trying to see more Corvette content. I definitely want to do a modification guide on these cars too. Stay safe when you're purchasing vehicles out there, guys. I hope you guys all get a good deal and find the spec that you want. I'm going to see y'all later. Toodles. Bye.